bring in Scott Wade. He's a detective with the Ontario Provincial Police Force's Organized Crime Enforcement Bureau. Scott, good to see you. Appreciate you taking some time today to come on CTV.
Thanks very much for having me.
Hey, how big of an operation was this? Give us your take.
Well, it was actually quite a large operation involving a large number of partners. I won't say the first of its kind, but definitely something new, where Ontario found a need to come to Quebec and assist our partners to combat auto theft.
We hear about, let's say, 600 vehicles. Sounds like a lot, but as you know, there are tens of thousands of vehicles stolen every year. I'm looking at some of the stats, and there were more than 100,000 vehicles stolen in Canada in 2022 alone. So this is just a tiny fraction. It's good news, but obviously, kind of a drop in the bucket, right?
Well, I wouldn't say that. What I'd say is that it's part of a whole of society approach and just one of the methods that we're using to combat auto theft. This is basically kind of an end of stream interdiction. We're looking upstream. We're looking at all methods to combat auto theft. So this is just one of the things we're doing, but a very successful partnership.
How bad is the Port of Montreal for this kind of thing?
Well, I mean, the ports in Canada, we have a few different ports, but they're traditionally directed towards certain areas of the world where they're shipping to. So the Port of Montreal is one of the destinations for illegal export of stolen vehicles, but it's also a huge hub for legal export of all types of goods.
Yeah, and I guess that's where it gets tricky, right? Most of the things in those shipping containers are totally kosher and legit and legal. But of course, then you see these videos of the law enforcement, including the OPP, opening up these shipping containers and finding these cars stacked inside. So, how do you go about inspecting enough shipping containers to catch enough of these stolen cars?
Well, we have to start with the intelligence that's derived from our police partners throughout Ontario and across Canada to identify the crime groups that are doing this illegal export. Then we work with our partners at CBSA to hold the containers and then search them when it's safe to do so. So it's a part of a big process, a huge collaboration between partners. But it's been very successful.
Yeah, you mentioned CBSA. For people who are not aware of the acronym, Canada Border Services Agency, some people might think, Scott, well, why can't they just build a big Xray device, and every single shipping container gets put through the Xray device, and if we see cars in there, well, now we know there might be something to look into. It's obviously not that easy, is it?
No, I wish it were that easy. We need commerce to flow freely. X-rays right now don't have that kind of technology. But I can tell you that not just police, but all of society are working on different opportunities and techniques that we could use to detect stolen vehicles leaving Canada. But again, that's just the one place where they're leaving. We need to stop them before they're stolen, before they get on our highways and cause danger to our public and our police officers. So it's part of a whole strategy to combat auto theft. But it's a big one. I wish it was as easy as that. There's no silver bullet. There's no guaranteed thing. We need everybody to work together, from society to police to private partners.
A couple of other questions. First of all, we've been tracking this story for months and months now, this surge in car theft. Why do you think it's going on? Why this big jump in the numbers, Scott?
Well, it is a big jump, but it's been happening over years. So if we go back far enough, pre-2006, 2007, the numbers were almost the same as they are now. We experienced several years where they dropped. And then now, one of the biggest reasons is, well, two biggest things. Technology has resulted in easier ways for organized crime to steal cars. Technology that makes it easier for the public to access their car, get information about it, start it remotely, warm it up. That also presents opportunities for organized crime to steal your car. But then also it's the global demand for high-end pickup trucks, luxury vehicles that Europe and Africa and different areas overseas can't accommodate. So then they go to the illegal market.
People might also think that, it's sort of the old school model that this is, a car thief operating by himself. That's sort of a very outdated concept, isn't it? These are kind of highly sophisticated criminal gangs. Sometimes they use people who are underage, connected to organized crime, perhaps. It's a whole operation, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And that's really what we're targeting from the provincial auto theft and towing team is the organized crime groups behind the auto thefts. Thieves that are out stealing cars need to be dealt with, and there's ways that the law will deal with them. But we really need to target the organized crime groups behind this, remove the profitability, and conduct enforcement at the higher levels.
Do you think it might be wise for us to increase the penalties for people who are found guilty of car theft?
I mean, there's been a lot of discussion about that. As police, we try to stay in our lane. We conduct the enforcement, we lay the charges, we bring them before the courts, and then it's up for the courts to decide the appropriate punishment. But I think, there needs to be a deterrence and there needs to be a punishment. So I think that's for the courts to decide.
Yeah, I was talking about CRVs from Honda and Dodge, Ram pickup trucks. You're talking about SUVs, so it really runs the gamut. What would your number one piece of advice be, Scott, to people watching, who are, thinking, hey, what can I do with my own car to make sure it doesn't end up like this?
Well, the biggest thing is to take a layered approach. Start at the basics, keep your car locked. Put it in the garage if you have one. Some people have nice vehicles and want to show them off in their driveway. That's great, except it presents an opportunity for thieves. So you just want to make it as difficult as possible. You can use ODB port blockers. You can use try to protect the signal from your key fob. So there's a whole lot of things. And then there's aftermarket devices which will track your vehicle, or kill switches, so that they can't be stolen in the first place. So when I say a layered approach, it's start with the easy things and then do as much as you can to protect yourself. Be aware of your surroundings. Don't put yourself at risk no matter what. A car theft is a terrible thing to happen, but don't put yourself at risk no matter what happens.
Scott Wade is with the Ontario Provincial Police Force and their Organized Crime Enforcement Bureau. Thanks for taking a bit of time, Scott. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you very much for having me. Good luck. Be safe.